Good morning. My name is Ashley Adams. I'm the president of Adams & Associates. We're really happy that you could join us today. We're here to give you some information about how to obtain an injunction against harassment. What is an injunction against harassment? An injunction against harassment is different than an order of protection. An order of protection is something that's issued by the court in the context of a familial relationship. In other words, somebody you're related to by blood or marriage or somebody that you live with. In contrast, an injunction against harassment is issued outside of the family relationship. A friend, a roommate, a coworker, those kinds of things. In order to actually obtain an injunction against harassment, you have to demonstrate that harassment exists. So I want to read to you the definition of the statute in Arizona. Harassment is a series of acts over any period of time that is directed at a specific person and that would cause a reasonable person to be seriously alarmed, annoyed, or harassed, and that the conduct actually does alarm, annoy, and harass that person. That's the definition of harassment, and that's what you have to prove. Now let's talk about some examples of harassment. Texting, stalking, trespassing, damaging somebody's property, threatening somebody, slander. There's all kinds of conduct that constitutes harassment. Surreptitiously recording someone, for example, without their consent, that could be harassment. So if you believe that you're being harassed, what do you need to do to actually obtain an injunction against harassment? What's the first step that you should take? Well, the first thing that you should do is to consult a lawyer. And the reason I tell you that is that people like me who've been doing this for a long time, we can help you navigate a situation which is already going to be very stressful for you. Sometimes the court systems can be overwhelming and intimidating, especially the paperwork, and so we're here to help if we can. If you're not able to afford an attorney, luckily here in Arizona, our courts have made it pretty easy to obtain an injunction against harassment. So where do you need to go? There are 3 different places here in Maricopa County where you can obtain a county-wide injunction. And you want to get a county-wide injunction because if you go to the city of Scottsdale, for example, that injunction is only good in the city. So you want to go to one of the county courthouses. There's one downtown, there's one out in East Mesa, and there's one in North Phoenix. I find the North Phoenix facility, which is around the 51 in Union Hills, to be the most user-friendly. They have a self-service center with computer terminals, and you can fill out all of the paperwork right online, which makes it very convenient. So before you go, you want to have information ready to put into either the terminal or to file. You need to first provide the plaintiff's name, your name and address. Second, the defendant's name and address. And then you want to provide the court with a description of what constitutes the harassment that you're feeling. What's going on? Why do you feel alarmed and why do you believe that you need to be protected? And then finally, you want to ask the court for the relief that you're seeking. In other words, do you want the defendant to stay away from your home? Do you want the defendant to stay away from your work, or both? So let the court know what it is that you need. Once you finish that paperwork, it will be submitted by the clerk to the judge, and then you'll go into the courtroom and you'll be sworn in, and the judge will hear what you have to say, and he may ask you some questions and decide then whether or not the injunction against harassment is appropriate. Now, once you receive that injunction, you will have to personally serve the defendant. You cannot mail it. You can either hire a private process server or you can ask the Maricopa County Sheriff to serve it for you. Generally, however, there's a pretty big backlog with the Sheriff's Department, and so if it's an emergency, it's best to hire a private process server. Now, let's talk about if you're a defendant and you receive an injunction against harassment, you're served with one, but you don't believe that it should be issued or that it is valid. What can you do? You must request a hearing within 10 days, and you have to do so by motion, and the court will set a hearing. At that hearing, the plaintiff has the burden of proof to show that in fact there was harassment. The plaintiff can testify, present evidence like text messages or phone calls or photos, for example. But you as the defendant, you have the right to cross-examine the plaintiff's witnesses and to present your own evidence on your behalf. You can testify if you want to, or you can have other witnesses testify. At the end of the hearing, the judge will look at the totality of the circumstances and decide whether an injunction of harassment should either stay in place, be modified, or be quashed. Now, if the judge does issue that injunction, it is good for a period of 1 year. And it is very important to know that the defendant cannot possess any weapons during that 1 year period. No firearms, no guns, no knives, none of that. All right, we hope that this has been informative for you. If you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to call us at 480-219-1366. You can also email us anytime through our website at www.azwhitecollarcrime.com. Thanks for joining us today.